You were the coach of the Sonics in the mid-'70s, and you've lived in Seattle for the last 40 years.
I bought this house in '73.
I remember, because we had season tickets, I think, from when I was 4 years old on. You would come to some of the games, and it was like, just the way people reacted was kind of amazing. And I never saw you play, obviously. I was born the year you retired.
Well, can I tell you something? You didn't miss a thing.
I think I did. I remember I was at a Celtic game, and some older fan came up to me and was like, if you ever read a basketball book, you got to defend Russell. He was the best player ever, ever.
I agree wholeheartedly that this is the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball, Bill Russell.
We came down here, and part of what we wanted to do was like look at all the stuff that you kept. And what does it mean to you when you look through that trophy case? Is it just like a big blur?
It's hard to explain. Each one of those things has a story. Some of the stories are important, like the MVP in the '63 All-Star game in Los Angeles. That was one of the great experiences for me.
How come?
I invited my father to come to the All-Star game. And the night before, Chick Hearn was saying that Los Angeles is the best basketball capital in the world. And so Red, in his own diplomatic way, says, it'll never be the center of the world until you win a championship. And you guys ain't won nothing.
Yeah.
He's a real diplomat. so I laughed so hard. And so on the way home from the dinner, my father said, yeah, they ought to shut up about that. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I hope you guys kick their asses. I said, you feel that way? He said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. We'll win the game tomorrow. I'll make sure of that. And I'll get the MVP. And he said, you could do that? I said, yeah. And I did it.
Russell fakes right and goes to the left. Swings toward the lane. Swings back in on Chamberlain. The hook is good.
After the game, they gave me the trophy for the MVP, which I promised my father I would do.
Bill Russell is the most valuable player in the game, and many fans across the country hail him as the greatest ever to hit the NBA.
As far as trophies are concerned, that was the highlight of my career.
Really?
Yeah, because I could keep my word to my father. My father was my hero because when my mother got sick and she knew she was dying, she asked him to promise her that he would send her boys to college. We buried her in Louisiana. And while we were down there, she had 5 sisters. And so they would decide who was going to take me and who was going to take my brother. And my father says, I'm going to take them both back to California with me. And they said, man can't raise kids. He says, I promised their mother I would try. And so he had a business. And he's making a lot of money. He went back to Oakland, he sold the business. And he started to work in the foundry for $42 a week, which was about half what he had been making before in his business. And he sacrificed so he could be home every night to be a good parent. I was never afraid because I knew that he loved me. And he never let me down.
So how many times did he come see you play?
He used to come back to the playoffs. You know, when I got that big contract, I called him up and I says, Dad, you don't have to work anymore. He says to me, I don't want your damn money. I got my own money. I says, but you work in the foundry. You've been working there since I was 12. That's a terrible job. He said, listen, son, I'll give these people 30 of the best years of my life. Now, I'm gonna give them a few of the bad ones.
This is your Topps rookie card. 1957, All-Star Game MVP here. Up here we have all the stuff from, it seems like high school and college.
Nothing from high school.
Nothing from high school? What was this one? Well, I guess this is from...
This is the AAU tournament in my freshman year in college.
It's your first trophy, right?
Yeah.
Was that the year you put it all together?
A guy asked me He says, you talk about McClymonds and you talk about the Celtics, but you never talk about your career in college. Why not? So I just said, by the time I got to USF, I was already what I was going to be.
Bill Russell, 6', 10" center of the San Francisco Dons, biggest wheel in the collegiate basketball circuit.
My first varsity game, played Cal Berkeley. Their center was preseason All-American. First 5 shots he took, I blocked. So we go to our huddle, and my coach says to me, you can't play defense that way. I said, what do you mean? He says, that's not the way to play defense.
To block shots?
Yeah, because he'd never seen it.
Turned out Russell wasn't bad at the whole winning thing. He won 2 straight NCAA titles and an Olympic gold medal before arriving in Boston, where Russell and Red Auerbach immediately revolutionized the game.
You always talked about blocking shots. You would jump straight up, because if you leaned forward, it was easier to get a foul. Well, why don't guys do that now?
I don't think they approach shots the way I did. Like all the guys that followed me, I approached blocking shots as a defensive maneuver. I block shots as an offensive maneuver. For the first 10 years, I was still surprising people.
Because basketball was a very grounded game.
Yes.
Everybody shooting those hook shots.
It was a horizontal game. And I brought vertical to the game. I talked with Red my rookie year, and he said, do you know how good you are? You're the best player playing basketball. I said, I know that. He says, now I have to confess, I don't know what you're doing. I've never seen anything like it, so I can't help you. But what I will do is, as I figure things you're doing, I'll make that part of our system.
Well, when you joined the Celtics, Cousy was the biggest star in the league.
Yes.
I mean, he was considered really the first popular basketball star. I know Mikan was winning titles, but Cousy was like the first entertaining star they had.
Bob Cousy, still today, was the best guy running fast break. So Cousy says to me after I got there, you're a pretty good rebounder. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the things I'm good at.
And so we talked, and we decided a spot we want him to go to whenever a shot's taken. When I get a rebound, he said, that'll be the first place you look.
So you get the rebound over your head, and you're already turning to see where he is, and you're hitting that spot, and he's off.
Yeah. So our fast break was started as a shot was taken.
Styles of play have changed too, making for a more aggressive, crowd-pleasing brand of ball. The key to this new style of play is the fast break.
The thing that struck me watching the tapes, you know, everybody talks about small ball now, and that's like the new rage, and centers don't matter as much, all this stuff. I watched those tapes of the 1960s Celtics, and it basically was small ball. It was up and down, and it was similar to what people think they're watching now.
Well, one of my great, I think, attributes, I could play with anybody.
The NBA had never seen a big man doing the things that Russell was doing. But it was his unique mental approach off the court that made the Celtics a dynasty.
Explain the process to me, though, about what it took for you to get in the state of mind you needed to be just to play.
I had to almost be in a rage. Nothing went on outside the borderline of the court. I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't see anything, and nothing mattered. And I could anticipate every move that every player made.
So somebody would be dribbling over midcourt, and in your head, you already kind of knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
West all alone. Look at Russell come down. And what a play by Russell!
Boston fans have already started to carry Coach Red Auerbach off the court. Their Celtics have just won their 6th consecutive championship of the National Basketball Association.
Make no mistake, the Celtics lucked out by getting Russell. After college, he was drafted number 2 by the Hawks, who were playing in St. Louis at the time. Not the best city for William Felton Russell.
St. Louis was overwhelmingly racist.
So, like, were you frightened about potentially going to St. Louis? Like, I mean, it definitely had a reputation.
No, if I'd
at that
got
point.
drafted for St. Louis, I wouldn't have won the NBA.
You wouldn't have been in the NBA?
I would not have gone to the NBA.
The good news? Boston had Red Auerbach. In one of the great trades ever made, Red acquired Russell's rights for future Hall of Famers Ed Macauley and Cliff Hagan. Although the city of Boston definitely had some issues, Russell quickly learned that his new team was way ahead of the curve when it came to race.
There's a guy named Don Barksdale that played for the Celtics. So Don called me up and says, hey, you couldn't ask for a better organization. Walter Brown and Auerbach, they're really good people.
6 years earlier, the Celtics had drafted Chuck Cooper, the first black player ever drafted in the NBA.
When Cooper came into Boston to sign his first contract, one of the other owners asked Walter Brown, you know he's colored. And Walter Brown said, I don't care if he's polka dot. That's the player we drafted. The Boston Celtics was the first NBA team to start 5 black players. Now, they were rewarded for being so progressive.
With titles.
Yes, but the city did not appreciate it.
Isn't that crazy? You're the best sports team of all time, right? Not just the best basketball team, but the best sports team ever. And during the regular season, you guys are getting 8,000 fans a game. And at the same time, hockey was selling out, right? Bobby Orr and those guys,
right.
They're selling out every game.
Line up, line up, down program.
We did a survey about what we could do to improve attendance. Over 50% of the responses says too many black guys. So the Celtics, to me, were a blue team in a sea of red.
What does that mean?
That means that there was really no connection for me between the fans in Boston and the Boston Celtics. I remember when Kuz retired, a guy walks up to me, I was in Boston, he guy says, what are you guys gonna do now? You don't have Kuz to carry you. So I said, well, it'll be difficult, we gotta make an adjustment. But do yourself a favor and find out who the MVP in this league was the last 3 years.
The red-hot Boston Celtics look almost unbeatable as they take aim on another title. Big Bill Russell, number 6, is one of the men responsible for their phenomenal play.
Big Bill was last year's most valuable player, and he's just as great this season.
Now, you take the MVP trophies. I won 5 times.
I think we have all 5 right there.
I never finished any higher than 3rd leading scorer on my team.
But you're always second in assists. You're always first in rebounds. And then they didn't keep track of blocks, which was the big tragedy of your career statistically.
That's not a tragedy.
Well, it's sad. I mean, we use statistics now to measure everything.
See, it's not sad to me.
Well, it's sad for me. I wrote the book. I wrote a 700-page basketball book. I was trying to figure out how to put what you were doing defensively in context. There was no way to do it. I mean, there's been nobody like you since.
Folks tell me, say, you're the greatest defensive player. I said, most of the guys I played against found me very offensive.